Life is too short to do something you hate. That's the cliche you may have heard, followed up by another cliche that you should follow your passion. For most people under 25, though, this is useless advice, because passion only works if it's paired with traction. Passion is when you feel a deep emotion about something that matters to you, and usually that deep emotion inspires you or moves you to take action. The problem with passion is that it's ephemeral. It'll motivate you once and leave you hungry for a spark forever. And guess what? Humans are prone to be passionate about similar things. That's why you'll see music and art majors oversubscribed and technical majors undersubscribed. People love music. People love art. So what's the use of passion? Is it an evolutionary holdover that has no basis in how we decide what we do? Is it just daydreaming? Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about a metaphor, which has been useful for me to understand how passion works with a whole bunch of other similar concepts. Most of you probably have seen a gas stove, and so on most gas stoves you'll see a burner and a pilot lamp. The burner has a gas line running through it, and the pilot lamp is always on. To light the burner, you have to turn on the gas, which harnesses the pilot lamp's spark, and then voila, a flame lights. Now the pilot lamp is not what sustains the flame, it's just the beginning. It's what you have to use to turn the flame on. But what keeps the flame going is the gas. So in this analogy, think of the pilot lamp as passion. It's a small spark. It'll move you for a day, but it doesn't usually end up in a work of art. But if you pair the spark with gas, which I would say is indicative of discipline, the flame turns on. And if you burn the flame long enough, you can do real work with it, like cook. Passion is the spark, discipline is the gas, and competence is the flame. And the reality is, competence is what actually gets you traction. So just like the flame is the thing doing the work to actually cook, competence is the thing that opens doors for you, gets you jobs, gets you recognized, makes you a market leader. And without competence, you're not going to get traction. And what I mean by traction is essentially progress in your career. Now, you might be passionate about, let's say, entrepreneurship, but without discipline, you won't be a competent entrepreneur that gains user traction. You might be a passionate drummer, but without discipline and learning how to do a drum roll or how to do a rim shot, you're not going to be a competent musician who can get gigs reliably. The most effective people in the world, the passion doesn't rule them. They control the passion and they use it to consistently relight the flame until they're hyper competent at something. Sometimes if the gas is turned down low, sometimes the flame may go out. You may have to relight the burner, right? That's where you need to relight the flame using motivation. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's going out and having an experience or getting a mentor or having people that hold you accountable in your life. As you can see, this brings up the topic of talent versus work. And you've probably heard another quote, hard work beats talent, basically all the time. And there is a truth to that. The pilot lamp is just a small spark, right? The spark is like the talent. The spark shows you that, hey, this is probably what you should be doing. But the gas, or AKA the discipline, is what makes sure that you're constantly applying the fuel needed to light that flame. Now, once you become competent, you're able to actually get things done. So let's see how we can actually help you do just that. Now, on a sheet of paper, draw 3 columns. We're going to deal with the leftmost column and the rightmost column first. Leave the middle one blank. On the left, write passion as the column header, and on the right, write traction as that column header. And then on each side, ask yourself these questions. So on the passion side, ask yourself, what problems do I rant about? What challenges hook my attention? And where have I made real progress, right? So those questions will help you tease out in your life where your passions lie. And as I mentioned, passions typically stir your emotions, right? When you start talking about a certain subject, as I mentioned, if you start going on a long-winded rant about a certain subject, that just tells you that there's this inner desire to be involved in that thing. Now, on the right side, here are 3 questions you should ask yourself about traction. What are your strengths? What do others benefit from that you do? And then what are things that are easy to you but are hard for others? So then what you realize is passion is what you're interested in. Traction is basically what you're good at. So once you've completed that, take a step back and look at what you've written down. Essentially, passion should be what you're interested in, and traction should be what you're good at a high level. Now, let's look at the middle column that you left blank. And in the middle, we want you to start brainstorming how you could connect your passion to your traction. And it may not be simple. It may be one passion leads to several areas where you have traction, or vice versa. So don't worry about it looking pretty. But here's an example of what that could look like. Maybe you're good at cooking and you understand the food and beverage space really well. So that's your traction. People have complimented you on how well you cook, and you're just good at it. It's a natural thing. But maybe your passion is about working in sustainability. Maybe you really care about the environment and you're interested in the outdoors and nature and that sort of thing. Now, on the surface, there doesn't seem to be much of a linkage. But if you think about it, you could pursue activities like sustainable farming. So in that way, the industry hits on where you get traction, what you're good at, and your passion is about sustainability. And so you can kind of see, you can come up with different combinations of what you want to do long term that hit on what you're good at as well as what you're interested in. And so now if you're looking at your list and you're like, wow, I can't create a linkage really easily, one thing that may signal is that you need to get more skills. When you're competent at more things, you're going to get more traction. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up the ability for one of those things to overlap with what you're interested in. Now, if you aren't passionate about a lot of stuff either, that's all right too. You need to think more deeply about what moves you. So look at your hobbies or what you like to do in your free time. Start there if you're struggling in that category. Now, here's the real takeaway. It's way easier to become passionate about something you have traction in already, or basically something you're good at, versus the other way around. So if you're having trouble, get good at something first instead of spending years finding your passion. Sometimes our passions find us. That list on the left may change over time. To give you an example, when I was younger, I had no interest in managing people, none at all. And what ended up happening over time is, as I grew in leadership positions and got promoted, eventually I was asked to be a manager. And at that point, I really didn't like motivating people. I like to get my work done and just do my thing. But as time went on, I realized that I was actually good at connecting with people. Now, I wasn't passionate about managing, but as I spent more time honing my managerial skills and getting the right training, I started seeing that actually I'm very interested in what makes people tick. I like the psychology aspect of things. And so I started to realize, wow, that actually fits really well with this area of managing people. So you kind of see, like, as you get traction with things, parts of your personality, things that you're passionate about, may start taking on a larger influence in your life. And so that's why starting with traction is a really good first step if you're struggling. And furthermore, if you're able to get more skills, as I mentioned before, basically you're giving yourself more ways to tie passion to traction. All right, so now that you've done this exercise, here's the secret. Most people quit not because they lacked passion, but because they never saw traction. They bounce before anything compounds. And if you can gain a lot of skills, the odds are higher that you're going to gain traction or progress in some discipline or another. And once that happens, you're going to feel the motivation increase. And the more traction you get, just as I said, you're going to get more motivated because you're good at something. You're going to start associating something you're good at with positive emotions because people will compliment you. You're going to get the raise, you're going to get the promotion. And so as you start doing that, as you start gaining traction, that's something you can really build a career around. So take this back, think a little bit more deeply about it, and hopefully this is going to help you understand how to connect passion and traction in your career and in your degree.